Hi, welcome back to my floor plan tour part 2. In the last video, I showed you all our formal entry and all of our formal living and dining spaces, and I brought you around to our powder bathroom, and that's where we stopped. So I'm picking that up today and bringing you into our family room, an open concept kitchen, living, breakfast nook area, so you guys can all see the more casual part of where we're going to be living every day as a family. So the home does have that more traditional layout and the U shape, so you see all the formal spaces when you come in, but once you enter into the space, I really wanted it to have that very open concept feeling. So I wanted a place where I could be cooking and multitasking and doing things in the kitchen, and we could be hanging out watching TV. So the home is kind of a combination of both a traditional layout and then a more kind of modern family style concept in here. If you come through here, you'll see that one of the first things that really grabs you is the ceiling height. We opted for really tall ceilings in the kitchen. These are 12-foot ceilings, and that's the base level in the living room, and then that pops up even higher with the cathedral vault in there. So in the kitchen, we have the 12 feet, and it just feels really open and really grand in here, really airy. But we did run into some challenges, and one of those was cabinetry. Because I wanted my cabinets to go all the way to the ceiling, the 12-foot height presented an issue with just how tall my cabinetry was going to be. And we came up with the idea of building up some decorative trim and kind of like a box on top of the cabinetry that isn't really functional but just looks pretty and carries the look to the ceiling. And that's about 18 inches of decorative trim, and then the cabinetry starts. So the top of my cabinets truly sit at about 10.5 feet, which is more of a standard ceiling height, but they do go all the way up. So those very top cabinets, they're still tall, but they're accessible. So, but it does carry your eye all the way to the ceiling. And then we added the tongue and groove here in this room just to make it just to warm it up, make it feel a little cozier and add that charm. Because the ceilings were so high, we still wanted it to have a little character and not just feel lost in the space. So I'm going to go over all of the cabinetry details in a separate video, but today I'm just going to give you sort of a high level about the layout and what we were thinking when we were planning the space and just some of the little features of the floor plan. So I'm going to start in the breakfast nook here. This space is a pop out that I wanted to have like fully enclosed in windows. I wanted to see out to where our future pool will go. And we initially had the windows going down to the floor, but we decided that we wanted to put a banquette bench in here, and then our breakfast nook table will slide up with some chairs on this side. So we lifted the windows up and put in that bench. It has to still be installed, but this is going to be a china cabinet. It's not your grandmother's china cabinet, but I still wanted something that I could store wedding china and holiday plates and silver and things like that in. But I didn't want it to take up space, and I didn't want to have to purchase a big heavy piece after we moved in. So we actually found some extra space on the other side of this wall when we were planning the design of the home. You know, it was unused porch space out there. So I said, why don't we build this in so it's actually recessed into the wall, so you get the look of a nice furniture piece. So the cabinet sits out from the wall about 2 inches, but it doesn't crowd our dining space, and we get to utilize the full size of a cabinet. So I would suggest thinking about these things when you're planning your floor plan, like what kinds of items do you have that you need to store, little places where you might have some unused space where you could put a piece of potentially furniture that's built in through cabinetry, and actually comes out to be a lot of times less expensive than purchasing a large furniture piece, and it takes up less space. So that's one tip I have. Just really considering how you're going to be using the space and what your needs are, and think of those little things if you can when you're designing your floor plan. So this is where we're going to hang out and like have our breakfast and our dinners and our normal meals. The formal dining room will be for special occasions and holidays, you know, nice family dinners and parties. But this is where we're going to live every day. So the kitchen, we'll start in here. this has 2 islands, and we have a nice mix of white and white oak pieces. So this breakfast nook cabinet that I showed you guys is white oak, and we tied in the white oak in here as well, in these cabinets on the ends, and then these in the middle will all be white, and then the islands are also going to be white, and you can see my white test swatch there. But I wanted 2 islands in this space because I notice, I mean, a lot of homes will do one really large island. I really like the idea of the functionality of 2 because I do a lot of holiday cooking and things like that. And what I've noticed is where I was doing the dishes and like chopping the stuff, people were always like right there. And I wanted to always set up like hors d'oeuvres, and it always just felt like overcrowded on my island. Like I'm doing dishes and like people are grabbing stuff off the cheese plate. So what I wanted was a place that was separate from where you set your hors d'oeuvres and where people gather, where your kids do homework. Like that will all be on this island, and then this will have the sink on it for the prep. This island will also have a built-in 8-inch butcher block, so it could be used for chopping and prepping, or it can just be used to like make a nice cheese board. But this is more of like the functional part of the kitchen, and this is kind of, you know, a non-wet area for people to gather around. So that's what I really like about the 2 islands, and plus it gives me a ton of storage because I can have storage pretty much on all sides of both islands. So this is our range wall, and you guys will get more of a tour of the details in the kitchen later. I'll show you guys how we planned the space and all of the storage and organization ideas. All of that will be coming later, but you can just right now get a general feel for the layout and what we thought about in the floor plan. Over on this side, we have the large window with the farmhouse sink and the 2 dishwashers. This is basically an appliance wall because our fridge, our built-in coffee maker, and everything sit on this wall, but I always knew that I wanted a farmhouse sink under the window. So we achieved that here, and then we made our range wall kind of the larger focal point in the kitchen. And another thing that I had to think about when designing this floor plan was incorporating a mom desk or space for me to have like my laptop and my planner and cookbooks, and just kind of for the day-to-day tasks that I plan for and do as a mom and wife, and I wanted to have a space like that. So in our last home, I had a full office space when I was running my design business, and I was hardly ever in there. I didn't want to be separated from the family, and it was often like another part of the house, and I just found it so much easier to multitask in the kitchen. So when we remodeled that house, we added that mom desk, and I just loved it so much. I knew that I wanted a space like that here. So it's not a huge space, but it's really all that I need. Let me show you guys. Come back here. So this is more, it's I guess a multifunctional space. So I've got my mom desk, and then I also have food storage and backup appliances. So it's not a true prep kitchen in the sense that I didn't opt for another sink because I didn't feel like I needed a 3rd sink. And I just don't see myself really like making the food back in like a closet when I have a big kitchen. So to me, that's just my thinking. I think everyone works differently, but I just don't ever see myself preparing food in a small space when I have a nice kitchen with a beautiful range and all of the things I need out here. I want to be in my kitchen preparing the food. But I did do a backup oven in here because we have a French range in the kitchen. You know, those are fancy and they're pretty, but I've never used it. So it is a little intimidating, and I know I'll be able to cook on it. I just don't know how all of the baking will go in the beginning. So I wanted to make sure we had just kind of a regular oven that we could just throw cookies in or use as another oven for when we have large meals like Thanksgiving and Christmas. We're cooking multiple things. It never hurts to have an extra oven. So we're putting that with the microwave over in this space here, and a backup fridge. And again, my thinking, and you know, when you're coming up with your floor plan, it's all about thinking about how you currently live, what things you'd like to change, what are your wants and needs and wishes, and that's sort of how we started to compile our list and our thought process going through this. And I knew that I liked having a backup refrigerator. For parties, you can put party trays in it, you can fill it with snacks, whatever it is. But we always had ours in the garage, and I forgot about food out there, or you had to truck it back and forth, you know? So I just really like the convenience of having a backup refrigerator in the space that's closest to the kitchen. So that was kind of our thought process there. So we did include those backup appliances. And then I wanted an oval window, and that really completed this little mom space. It has a built-in desk, drawers, and even a place that my printer is going to be stored in that can roll out. So this whole little cubby will be like my multitasking zone. So I can like do stuff in here, do stuff in the kitchen, kind of go back and forth. And then the food storage at the back of the pantry. This is where all of our snacks and food, and we'll have some appliances and just different things back here. And then our Costco door, which I'll show you guys in depth as our cabinetry gets painted. I'll start doing cabinetry tours, and I'll talk you through how we planned all of this out. But yeah, the pantry will be fully built out with cabinetry, and we thought about all of the storage and everything that we needed and all the conveniences that we wanted to have in this walk-in pantry. So that's really the kitchen, the layout and what we thought through with that. And so now I will show you guys the family room. And this room I just love because it's filled with light. So this is the family room. And I think my favorite part of this room, I mean, obviously other than its proximity to the kitchen and its open feel, are the windows and the natural light. I was inspired by Rachel Parcells' big wall of windows when she was building her home. I was taking pictures of her construction, and at that time we were starting our floor plan process, and I knew that I wanted a lot of light in this space. So we did that big wall of windows, and on this side we have all of the French doors that lead out to our backyard. Initially we were going to have a third wall that had windows on it, but during the planning process we decided that we wanted the media room to be right off of the family room, and I'll explain that in a minute. But we ended up putting the media room behind this wall, so even just the two sides of light in this space fill it with daylight. So I think that's something to really think about when planning your floor plan, which direction your home faces and how the light's going to come through, and can you get 2 or even 3 sides of windows in the home. So I'm just really happy with how that turned out. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the kitchen is 12 foot high, or 12 feet high. So when you come into the family room, the base is 12 feet, but then it pops up. We had the really, really big, like 22-foot ceilings in our last house, and I just felt overwhelmed by that space. It gave me a lot of awkward wall to figure out what to do with, and it was just overwhelming to me. I like the cozier feel, but I did want this room to have some height and to feel really open. So I think a good combination of the height and yet the coziness is doing this kind of cathedral vault and then adding the beams. And then we added the trim work, which this will all be painted white. The beams will stay the natural wood color, but then all of this will be white. And then you can see where our TV is going to go. So our sofa will go here, and then we have our fireplace and our mantle, directly in front of our sofa. So this will all be seating. And then we have a built-in on this one side. And if you look at how we design this, the openings are exactly the same size. So we have the built-in, but yet on this side we have an opening that leads you to the media room. So we still get the symmetry even though we only have the one built-in. And then we tied in that cabinetry detail on this cabinet that you see as you go into the media room. So follow me in here. One thing I'll point out is that we do step up to go into the space. Our architect pointed out that because we wanted the stadium level seating in the media room, that would mean if we were starting at the base level, we have to burrow down. And in Texas, we don't do basements here or anything, and so it starts to get really expensive when you go below your foundation line. And this was a really good way to step us up so that we're on a platform, and then in the media room we can step down. And so that second step down is actually the same level as the floor everywhere else. We wanted a snack bar. So our media room wasn't large enough to really put a snack bar in, but I wanted a space where I could throw drinks and snacks and put pizzas or whatever for movie night in. And so we designed this, and I'm going to show you all again all the cabinet details. I can't wait to show you. This is a touch latch. So these cabinets will not have any hardware, and they tie in with the cabinets in the family room. So the same detail there. But this will have a countertop on it, and I just love that we could put like candy, we could have our popcorn maker here, but that's just a very usable space when you have a theater room. And it's really dark, so you can't really see, but we didn't have any windows, obviously, put in here, because this will be just for movie watching, but we did some pop-outs with places for sconces, and then we have the stadium seating and the built-in for any equipment or storage needs there, for speakers, because I didn't want to see all of it. And then we will have the movie screen in the middle. So this will be a fun place, and I think a place that's much more used. We had a place like this in our last home, and it was upstairs, and we rarely went up there, but we want to entertain. We want to have, you know, Sloan have her friends over and watch movies. And the nice thing about that is that people can still be so accessible to the kitchen. They can still be part of the group or what's going on out here. The kids can still be kind of supervised, but they're in, it's its own space, but it's just close to everything else. So if you have a Super Bowl party or anything like that, you can have this going, and yet, you know, people can still be in here hanging out. It's close to the outdoor area. So we just really thought about the proximity of that theater room and how we would use it. And I think where we placed it makes the most sense. So that's really it today. You guys got to see our breakfast, our pantry, our media room, and our open concept kitchen and living space. I think next time I'll take you through the master suite, and we'll continue our floor plan series. So stay tuned for more. In the meantime, check out my Instagram page at Domain Design. See you next time.